Alright, I'm doing a comparison of two pine tar products that the one on the left is available at, feed and groom country type stores all over the place. And the one on the right is from Scandinavia. I think it's from Sweden or Norway. I'm going to be using both of them together because I need pretty much all of it to, I think I need, 2 quarts. I'm following some formulas that I've read online, and I have a book, but I'm following some formulas to make my protective coating for my telephone pole. I bought a used telephone pole that's going to be my electric pole, and I want to put a coating on it to protect it for the years to come because I'm putting a lot of effort into putting in the ground. It's going to be on a concrete pad and everything. So this is what we're doing today. And I've opened both of them. I had no idea what to expect, and this is my first time doing a project like this. So right away, well, first of all, the packaging. They are very similar in price. This one is a little bit more, but it's actually not that much more. I think this is about $16 for the quart, and this is like $20 for the quart. They're totally different because when this was delivered to me, these had both been sitting in my barn for like 6 months or so. And this was delivered in a plastic bag with tape wrapped around it, and you see it hasn't weathered at all. But this was sitting not in rain or anything, but just in a barn that's got open windows, and it's already rusted on top. No big deal, but let's see what's inside. So what we see is it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but it's hard. It's I was told when making these formulas, it's more like a wax. And this is, you see, from the horse's hoof, horse health products. This is marketed for your horse's feet. And this, I think, is more marketed towards using as some kind of a stain. It's already an oil. It's not as thick, but it looks a lot nicer, and it looks more like what I would want. So if I was going to do this again, I would buy 2 of these Oson extra treatable genuine wood tar, and I probably wouldn't get this. But today, because I need all of it to paint the telephone pole, I'm following a formula where you use linseed oil, and most of the formulas say use straight 50-50 linseed oil and pine tar, and then you can add turpentine and or Japan dryer in very small quantities to make it dry faster. But here's the pole I'm going to be painting. See, the bottom was probably buried. And this pole was originally even taller than this, but I had a gentleman cut it roughly in half. Maybe he didn't cut off as much as a half. But this was a full-on telephone pole. And it's going to go in the hole there. And then the electric company will be able to deliver the power there. And my plan is then to have underground electric lines going out. There used to be a pole over there, and there used to be a mobile home over there. And the pole, of course, was getting power from the electric line up there, and it fell down because it rotted out at the bottom. It lasted about 26 years. I've only owned the place 3 years, but they wrapped up the electric lead when my wife said that pole is going to fall down, so you need to get that taken care of. So this is the new electric system. All right, so I have this turkey fryer that I bought off Facebook Marketplace for 10 bucks, and that's going to be my heating vessel and my mixing vessel. So it's going to get used this one time, and it's a nice deep pot. So I'm going to be heating up kind of a double boiler kind of effect. But anyway, I'm going to put some water in the bottom of this, heat it up on the stove, and have this sitting in that hot water so that waxy stuff will melt down and get easier to work with and turn into a paint. The higher the level of water in the pot here, the more of it is going to be warming up the wax. So actually I think I might just go ahead and use the whole gallon of water so it's closer to the top of that waxy jar. The other things that you can add to this to thin it out are turpentine and Japan dryer, and I'm still learning about all this stuff, so I'm not really sure if it's a good idea to use both of them. And I think today I'm only going to limit myself to using one of them. And I haven't really decided yet which one, so we shall see. But turpentine's in there. I mean, the pine tar's in there. That waxy, hard pine tar. And we'll see if this will succeed in softening it up some. Hopefully it will in the next 15 minutes or so. Okay, so let's see. Let's ask Mr. Google. Can Japan dryer and turpentine be used together? I have a feeling they can, because I read about what Japan dryer is. So Japan dryer is some mostly ethanol, but it has some cobalt mineral. There's like a mineral dissolved into this that also speeds up the drying of the oil. And the thing with turpentine is I really don't know how this works yet. All I know is that this is a based off of a natural product, not it's extremely distilled, but I think it's derived from a tree, the turpentine, and the Japan dryer is more of a chemical product. In the long run, whenever you refine things more and more and more, you're turning it into less of the natural item and more of a chemical product, of course. Aha, so this is saying, let me read the whole thing. Because this is saying, mix your linseed oil, which I have here, to make my pine tar go farther. I got inexpensive boiled linseed oil. Okay. Japan dryer is a chemical used to aggressively speed up the dry time of oil-based paint and glaze. The drying process is actually a chemical reaction that produces an organic plastic when mixed with a drying oil. These dryers are derived by ions of certain metals such as cobalt, iron, or manganese and prepared as salts. It can be mixed with drying oil such as linseed oil. Japan dryer is an essential ingredient in an oil glaze recipe. Without it, an oil glaze will take at least twice as long to dry. You only need to add a capful of Japan dryer to a 32-ounce container of oil glaze. Oil glaze recipe. There you go. This guy's recipe, and he seems to know what he's talking about. 3 parts turpentine, 1 part linseed oil, plus Japan dryer. So they can work in combination. So I'm glad I got both of these. So I am kind of going, this is 1 quart, this is 1 quart, that's 1 quart. So we have 2 parts. I don't think I'm supposed to use this much turpentine. Okay. See, he's making something in this that's way, way thinner than what I'm going for. So I think I've got my recipe together now. I'm going to use 2 quarts of pine tar, 1 the Swedish one, and 1 the American horse hoof tar, which is warm warming up and getting thinner right now in the double boiler. So I'm going to use those two. I'm going to add this full thing of this. I'm going to go for, said maximum per gallon is 4, people have said, of each of these. So I'm going to go with, instead of 4 ounces, because I'm only got about half gallon, or 3 quarts, I really want to be conservative with these two. I'm only going to do 2 ounces of this and 2 ounces of that. And that's what I'm going for. So we'll see how this goes. How is the double boiler working? Well, I have a lid on it. It looks like it is starting to get much thinner. As a matter of fact, all the wax, yeah, it's got a long way to go though. It's still got a long way to go because the outside of it has turned into liquid, but the wax on the can is like all liquid all around it. So when I pushed on it, the wax rolled around inside there. Slowly, the heat is going to go into it more and more and more, and it'll all turn into a nice syrup, which is what I can work with. Now we're going to do something funny. See that little dab of the horse hoof pine tar on my fingertip? We're going to do something you cannot do with your oils and paints and acrylics and all that from Home Depot. You cannot taste test that stuff because it's toxic and more poisonous. These are naturally derived solvents. These are natural. They're from trees. So you can taste test this stuff. Let's do the taste test, shall we? Scandinavian Oson genuine wood tar versus the horse hoof. I don't even remember the name of the brand of it. It says Horse Health Products pine tar. Okay. So Horse Health Products pine tar, how does it taste? Like nothing. As a matter of fact, I can't even get any of it on my tongue because it's already hardened again into something much thicker. I can't taste anything. It's just kind of a dull, waxy substance. So like no taste. And this guy, wow, this is going to be great. I think these are all going to work together really well. Anyway, let's do the taste test of this one. Ooh, very piney. It's got a strong charcoal. It's got a smell in the back. You know what? I would put this in coffee. Seriously, this is really good. But that's all you need. So it's not bad for you. It's just pine tar. I think it tastes kind of good. Definitely, some people say it has a lot of medicinal qualities. And you can rub it on wounds after they've scarred over. And it's supposed to be good for you. So I just tried it and I'm not dying, obviously. Let's check how the double boiler's going with the really thick pine tar. Let's take the lid off there. Still got a ways to go. It's definitely still really waxy. But I think it's coming along. Alright, let's check on this double boiler one more time. Been out doing some other stuff and I had the heat turned up. So it was boiling away when I came back. Let's pull it out of here. Oh, it's very warm. Let's turn it off. want to tip over, that would be terrible. Let's see how it is now. Alright, totally gooey, totally viscous, as they would say, and ready to work with. So there we go. I don't want to mix too much water into it either. Excellent. This is looking like the other pine tar does, and I'm really happy because I want one that's really thick. I want it to be thick on the telephone pole. Let's transfer this over to the table. As a matter of fact, let's leave it in the hot water while we're doing some other stuff. So we're just going to put it down right there and let it sit its merry little way while we finish up some other stuff and then mix our paint or finish or protect it. This guy's going to be buried in the ground 4 feet, probably up to about here. So I'll just push it forward a little bit, then I won't have to worry about standing underneath here. So after careful consideration, this is going to be the mixture for this protectant that I'm putting on the telephone pole. It's going to be 1 quart of this type of pine tar, 1 quart of the horsehoof pine tar. Ooh, that's warm. One quart of the horse health products, 1 entire quart of boiled linseed oil, which means my oil-based paints or oil-based mixture is 3 quarts. So most of the recommendations on the back of these and most of the things that I've read online say use 4 ounces to the gallon. So I'm going to do 3 ounces of turpentine, 3 ounces of Japan dryer, put it all in the turkey fryer pot and mix it all up. If it needs to be warmed again, I'll just warm it directly in the pot and then I'll get to painting it on there. Okay, here come the ingredients. This is now totally dried out from the water. First we were using it as a double boiler. Here come the ingredients. 1 quart linseed oil, oh yeah, get all that good stuff out of there. So that was 1 quart of boiled linseed oil. Alright, I think that's about good. Whoa! That would have been bad. 1 quart of the horse hoof tar, pine tar, which has been warmed up so it's nice and viscous. There we go. One quart of this delicious smelling Scandinavian pine tar. And I think I'm going to save some for medicinal purposes and coffee or whatever. This stuff just has the most nicest aroma. It's really beautiful. You can tell it's a very pure product. It's a wonderful product right there. So I'm going to save a little bit of that just for future stuff. And I've changed my mind. I'm going down a little bit on my ounces. So 2 ounces of turpentine. You can see it right away. It was starting to push the oils aside. So that's going to thin it out a little bit. And last is this purpley stuff, which is kind of already the color of the pine tar, but I'm putting in 2 ounces of Japan dryer. Again, we can see when that hit it, it kind of thinned it out and it was pushing those oils aside, which is what it's meant to do. Okay, time to stir it up. Wow, this is some interesting stuff here. I can definitely see how it's not all sticking together. Well, I think that's because of the Japan dryer or the turpentine is making it it hasn't fully mixed into all those oils. So now it's still about the same. I haven't mixed it a lot yet. Now it's starting to act like it's one uniform body of liquid. And I'm just going to keep stirring it. Alright. This is definitely looking very uniform now. It's all mixed in. Give it a little bit more stirring. Looking good. Oh, I really don't know how far this goes. That is a 20 feet long pole, and it sure is going to be thirsty because a lot of it's dry and has a lot of pores, so it's not going to be like painting a canvas. I think it's going to just soak this stuff up, but we'll see how far this goes, and hopefully we'll be able to coat the whole thing with this. Boy, I'm glad I got this really deep turkey frying tub, because this is just would be terrible if I was splashing it around or spilling some. You know, this is just ideal. This is perfect for doing this job that I'm doing. Alright, I think it's mixed up nice and good. My goal is to have enough of the paint to make two coats. So first coat I'm going to put on kind of thin, because I want to have enough to do a second coat that's even thicker. smell very good. I think I have about a quart. It seems like maybe even a little more than a quart left over. I do have to turn the telephone pole over and get about a third of it left on the top side, but I have more left than I thought I would, so this is going great. Still quite a bit left. After doing that, I can turn it over now a couple hours, let it dry a couple hours. I can turn it over and paint the other side so I don't have to wait, because I have a lot of extra oil left over, more than I expected. I filled up the whole quart and I have like a half a quart left still. Looks like a completely different log, and that's because it is. So this is where I say kind of weird stuff. It's probably never going to be in a video on YouTube, but you know, I don't know how many trees it took in Scandinavia. I don't know how many trees had to be incinerated and distilled down to create the pine tar that I used. And it's funny because in a way, what I did is I took tree blood and slathered it all over a dead tree's bone. All so that I could enjoy having electricity here at the property, which I need to do my job. But anyhow, it's just kind of odd, you know? You never think of it that way, but the pole was a dead tree's bone, and that distilled pine tar, well, that's like tree blood, it's sap. That's what it is.